Is half the reason why I got this book box because it's a beautiful bright pink box? Potentially. Maybe. Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we're at the start of another weekly vlog, and I've realised that it's what, the something of April? Well, let me check. It's Easter Sunday, so I should know. It is the 9th of April and I have only read one book off my TBR, so I still have 5 books to get through, which I don't have long. I've got 3 weeks, which would be doable. However, I have been mood reading, so I don't actually know what I'm going to read next. I have quite a bit to choose from. I have no idea, to be honest. I'm like, do I go for something small? Because we've got Wind in the Willows, which is like a children's classic. Should I have showed you all of these books and be holding them up? Probably. Am I going to go and get them? No, because I actually have somewhere to be, so I'm trying to do this quickly when we know it's not going to be that quick. But anyway, basically I have quite a lot of books to choose from to read, and I need to do that. So I have no idea what I'm reading yet. Why did I update this video then? Why did I start this weekly vlog? Well, because I'm on earlies tomorrow. And so by the time I get back from work tomorrow, I'm going to be very tired and more rambly than usual. So I figured we'll try and start it off nicely. And technically I am in the middle of a book that I started last week, which is Blood Mercy by Vera Roth. And you know what? If you saw last week's video, you would know that I'm not 100% into this book. I'm 129 pages in and I don't love it. I found the first 129 pages to be so slow, so boring, very heavy on the world building, a lot of info dumping, and at the same time we're not given information, which feels weird to say, but like our main character Cassia, she is the king's bastard and she's absolutely terrified of this human king. However, I haven't seen any reason for her to be terrified, because we're told how fierceful he is and all, but we're not actually shown anything, so I'm a bit confused as to what's going on there. I feel like that is something that should have been addressed by now, but instead we've got loads of backstory to something called the Hesperines, which are vampires, which is where our second main character Leo comes in. And these vampires, they aren't vampires where they're going to kill you. They actually hate death, they hate anything to do with it. They have this whole kind of like religion thing where they don't want humans to die. Instead of dying, they want to change you into a vampire. And these vampires, they do drink human blood, but they don't drink to kill. And they have like these mind abilities, and basically for me they're Twilight vampires, but they just don't sparkle. But it's very much that Cullen's view of we don't kill. I'm not loving this book because there is so much info dumping about stuff that I feel like I don't need, and the things that I want to know we're not getting. And I do feel like it's a bit of a rip-off of Twilight in a way, because even the way that Leo and Cassia, like they're clearly the love interest of this book. It's a fantasy romance series, 10 books long, which is ridiculous. But the interest starts because Leo smells her, which is exactly the same as Edward and Bella. Because Edward smells Bella when she walks into the classroom and he's like, oh my god. And then ensues the love story. Same thing. Same thing, same sort of vampires. You can't convince me otherwise. However, I did put a poll up on my Instagram last week and said, these are the issues I'm having and do I continue? And it was an overwhelming yes. So I'm going to give it a try. Like I said, I'm on early shift tomorrow. I'm going to read a bit more of it at work tomorrow, and we'll just see whether I enjoy it. It's going to be the deciding factor. If it does not get better in this next chunk that I read at work, then I'm giving up on this book. So that is the one book that I am reading, and that's very much a decider as to whether I'm actually going to continue reading it. However, the physical book and my actual TBR for the month, we need to make some progress because we haven't. But today I'm off to the cinema with my partner. We're going to go see Mario. Wasn't my choice for Mario, but he is coming with me in July to see the Barbie film. Tit for tat, you know? It works. But no, it's going to be really fun. We haven't been to the cinema in absolute ages, which is why I needed to try and keep this bit a little bit shorter, because I still need to get my shoes on, get my bag and catch a train, of course, because I always leave it to last minute. Anyway, I'm going to go and do all of that and we'll see what I end up picking up physically. I'm really not sure. I'm debating, do I bring a book with me today? I mean, we're going to the cinema, so I shouldn't be reading, but I could. We'll see if I've got time. But yeah, I need to make some progress with this TBR. Maybe I should start The Wind in the Willows just to feel like I've accomplished something, because it is such a short book. Could do that. But I also have Juniper and Thorn, which I really want to read. I don't know. we'll see. Anyway, I'm literally here going, oh, I don't know what to read, when I literally just said to you I need to go. So priorities, Kirsten, priorities. Anyway, I hope you're all doing really well. Let me know what you've been up to and what you've been reading, all the usual things, and I will of course catch up with you very soon. And I really hope the next update isn't me going, I hate this book and I'm going to put it down. I hope that it does get better, because there's such good ratings for Blood Mercy on Goodreads. Like, it's a 4.0. That's really high. And even Abby, I'll have her linked below, she even said yes, I should continue with this series, so fingers crossed it gets better. Worried though. Anyway, I'm still rambling. I've got to go. I've got a train to catch. I'm tired, so we're going to try and make this update quick, but I have DNF'd a book, finished a book, and started 2 other books. And then it feels like that's quite a lot, so I don't think this is going to be as quick as I want it to be. But the book I DNF'd shouldn't be a surprise. That's Blood Mercy, and yeah, this just wasn't for me. I did read an extra 40 pages, so I got up to like 166, but it's just not for me. The fact that the next 40 pages was another chunk of just info dumping about the Hesperines, I'm not interested. Like, I was not able to focus on that, and considering I'm on an early shift and I slept so badly Sunday night, it just wasn't the one. I could not focus on it, and to be honest, even if I was more focused, it would still be ridiculously boring, because it was just non-stop information about stuff that I just didn't need to know about, or at least not this early on in such a long series. I feel like we could have discovered it more naturally, but it didn't happen. So no, that was a DNF. I'm not even going to try and make it to the page 200 mark. It was just, no. That's it. I've tried. I've done 166 pages. It shouldn't take that long for me to get into a book normally, so no. The book I finished was actually another ebook, because I did DNF that one while I was at work. I wanted something to read for the rest of my shift, but I was very tired, so I decided to go for a romance book, because they're easy to read. You really don't need to focus that much on them. Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas popped up on my Kindle Unlimited, and I decided to give it a try, and it was what I wanted. The writing isn't amazing. I don't really recommend it, but it was perfect to just switch off to, and to just be able to read something but not have to focus on it. Like, it's such a simple read, and it's a bit ridiculous, and the writing isn't the best, but it was okay. It fulfilled what I wanted at the time. I wouldn't reread it, but it was alright. It's about this girl, Jordan, and she has this boyfriend who's really not that great. They're only 19 though, so it's kind of like how you would expect teenagers to be, with the not very good at commitment and stuff, and not being very reliable, like your typical thing. However, Jordan moves in with her boyfriend's dad because they've been evicted, and so they have to live there, and then she starts getting feelings for the dad, and the dad has feelings for her, and it sounds really wrong like that because it is an age gap romance, but it was a lot of back and forth, and it's very, very slow burn, and you really see both perspectives of it. It was an okay read. It was light, entertaining, it was fine. But the 2 books I've started are physical books, and the first one I started was 1,000 Ships, and this is by Natalie Haynes. I did take this one with me to the cinema. I didn't read in the cinema. The film was fine, by the way. This one is a Trojan War retelling, and this is all done from different female perspectives during the Trojan War, which I always like that. However, this book, every single chapter is a different perspective, and I'm not sure how I'm getting on with that. So far, I'm up to chapter 4, page 35, so I haven't read much into it, but it's not really grabbing my attention yet. So I think I'm going to take this one to work tomorrow, because I'll have more time to actually read a physical book for the next 2 days. So I'm going to take that one to work, and because they're such short chapters, it works really well when I'm at work, so I'm going to give this one more of a try. So far, I'm liking the setting. It's taken place at the fall of Troy, so at the end of the 10-year war, but I'm not sure how I'm getting on with the different perspectives because it feels a bit disjointed, so I'm not sure about that. However, a book that I picked up yesterday evening because I wanted to read something at home is Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reid. I read 2 chapters. They're quite long chapters, so I'm up to page 43, but at the same time the chapters don't feel that long. I feel like that's a weird thing to say, like they're 20 pages each, but it goes really well. Like I really like the pacing in this, like a lot's happened, but it doesn't feel too fast, but it doesn't feel slow either. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this. You can tell I'm tired, and I'm being quite concise for how tired I am. Let's not start rambling now. But yes, Juniper and Thorn. We're following, I can't really pronounce her name properly. It's a really long name. Marlinchin? Not quite sure how that's pronounced. I should look that up. She is a witch, and she lives with her 2 sisters who are also witches and her father who is a wizard. However, her father's really cantankerous and you do not want to get on his bad side. Like, he has a lot of anger issues. And you have these 2 sisters. We've just met Marlichin and the 2 sisters as they are sneaking out of the house at night, and they are going to the local town to watch a ballet show, something that their father very much despises. And we've just learned a little bit about the different magic that her and her sisters can do. So you have Marlichin herself. She is a flesh witch, so she can touch somebody and see things about them, whether it's like different experiences or what's wrong with them if they're ill or different things like that, which is very interesting. You then have one of her sisters, Rose. She's a herbalist, so she can make different concoctions to cure different ailments or to incite different emotions. And then her other sister, Unadine, I'll put it up here. She is more of a clairvoyant, so she can see into the future when she's looking at water or a reflection, which is quite interesting. And then her father is meant to be the most powerful wizard. However, they've kind of fallen on really hard times, and he's very, like I say, angry about it all. I really am enjoying this one a lot more than 1,000 Ships, actually. There's so much folklore packed into here. This is a retelling of the Juniper Tree, which I actually have up there. I have a copy of the Brothers Grimm fairy tales, which the Juniper Tree is part of that. So I'm actually thinking I want to read that first before I read any more of this, so I have an understanding of that tale that is being retold, so I can see the different connections. So I think that's going to be my top priority this evening once I've had a shower and eaten and stuff, because I think that would just be really good to see how that fairy tale has inspired this book. So far we've had a lot of different like folklore inspired creatures and fairy tale creatures. Like, we have a faun who also feels like he's drawing influence from some like Greek and Roman myths, which I really like, and that's something that I found in this book as a couple of connections to mythology as well, which I'm really enjoying. We've had a gnome, all sorts of like little monsters and stuff, and that's how it starts off the book with, is there's a monster under my bed, but it's meant to be there. Basically where they live is inside this forest, and it's where all these magical creatures that are deemed as monsters can come and seek sanctuary. So it's very interesting. I'm really enjoying that. So this is going to be the priority. Actually, I really want to read more of this, so I'm making this my at-home book, and I'll make 1,000 Ships my at-work book, so that I will slowly get through this. Hopefully my interest peaks, but I think because there's so many different perspectives, it's going to be a case of I might like some chapters over others, so I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about the book overall. We'll see. Actually, the way it's written kind of reminds me like Ovid's Metamorphoses, which was a book I wasn't going to be talking about in this vlog because I don't plan on reading it this week. However, Ovid's Metamorphoses is a collection of poems of Greek mythology that all centre different people and different perspectives, and it's literally a collection of short poems. It kind of feels reminiscent of that, where each chapter is a different story and it's just showing a snippet, which is very similar to the way Ovid's written the Metamorphoses. Just a random connection I literally just made. Anyway, I've spoken for long enough. I'm tired. I want to have a shower. I might do some editing. I should do some editing. And then we're going to read and chill out. And that's it. That's it for today. I'm done. I'm good. Let me know if you've actually read A Thousand Ships and what you thought of it, because it would be interesting to see. There's been lots of strong reviews, but it's the perspective changes. I don't know if I'm going to get on with that. So it'd be interesting to see if you've read that and if you could get on with those perspective changes. Anyway, right, okay. I'm done. I'll catch up with you some point during the week. Good afternoon. It's a Thursday, so if you hear a lot of loud noises in the background, it's because we have my nephew over and he's playing with a toy, and I'm trying to hide away to do this quick update, so fingers crossed we can get through it. But I have some reading updates and a new book. So, starting off with the new book, it's Hare House by Sally Hinchcliffe, and this is a book I picked up from the free library at work. This is a book that when it originally came out, I was really interested in reading it, but just never got round to it. And this one is more of like a gothic, eerie tale, which I'm really intrigued by, about this house that could be a place of refuge, but could also be extremely dangerous and could be someone's downfall instead. So I'm really intrigued. The main thing that latched onto me for this book was the fact that it talks about witches, young men going insane, and I'm just really, really intrigued to see what is going to happen in this book. Like it says here, Hare House is not its real name, of course. I have, if you will forgive me, kept names to a minimum here, for reasons which will be understandable. So the synopsis really gripped me when I was reading it while I was at work, and I just think it's going to be a really interesting book to read. I think definitely going into like late autumn, winter is going to be the vibe to read this book to go with that. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, let's get on to what I've actually read. And I did say I was going to read The Juniper Tree, and I have, and I liked it. It was very weird, very unusual, and very dark, as I have come to expect from the Grimm's fairy tales. The tale of the Juniper Tree actually involves cannibalism, which makes sense as to why Ava Reid's Juniper and Thorn also has cannibalism in it. I haven't really got to that part fully yet. It's more just what I know from the TikToks around this book and people talking about it. But anyone that's complained about there being cannibalism in that book can't really complain, because that is what the Juniper Tree was. Like, it is a story about cannibalism to a degree. So I feel like you can't complain if a retelling has that element in there. But I liked it. It was what I've come to expect from a Grimm's fairy tale. It was dark, there were some parts of it that were very repetitive, and it has quite a nice hopeful ending. So I did enjoy that, and I think it was really good to see the inspirations from the Juniper Tree that Ava Reid has taken to Juniper and Thorn, because there have been some aspects of it which she's obviously changed and exaggerated a lot of different things, but there have been aspects of it that I could really see which I wouldn't get unless I'd read the Juniper Tree. So I always recommend doing stuff like that, like reading the originals where the retellings come from, because you get so much more from it. This book I also think pulls from other fairy tales in general, but the Juniper Tree is the main one, which I really am enjoying. So I've read a bit more of this. I'm now up to chapter 5, page 81, and I really am enjoying this. I'm reading it a lot slower than what I wanted to, so I haven't made as much progress as I want to, but I am off for the next couple of days, so I will be making some progress with this. I'm really, really excited to get back into reading it, and honestly, hopefully tonight we can get through, like, I would love to do 100 pages, because I really am am enjoying this, and I feel like it's going to get really dark. I feel like we're on a precipice of things where it's just going to take such a darker turn, and I cannot wait. This is already quite dark. The atmosphere in this is so well done. It really does read like a dark fairy tale. So I cannot wait to have that finally fall over the edge and go into this story, which I know is meant to be really dark and all about women's vengeance and the frustrations of how being treated. And there's this song that's been going around on TikTok, and the amount of people that say that this book is that song personified, like, amazing. So I'm really, really excited. I cannot wait, and I feel like we're at that tipping point. And the book that I've made the most progress with, because I have read it at work the last couple of days, is A Thousand Ship. I'm now up to chapter 16, page 132, and I feel two minds about this book. I am enjoying it. I've annotated a few things. There's one page in particular which I really enjoyed, and I actually tabbed, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to start tabbing this book. Since then, there hasn't been anything, so I think I'm going to take the tab out and just dog-ear the page, which is what I do when I like a book and there's been certain things that I have really connected to, but the rest of it is not there enough for me to spend time tabbing the whole book. I think that's what's going to happen. But I really did enjoy this particular page. Let me talk about the book more and then I'll get to that bit. Because we have a couple of repeating perspectives, which I didn't realise when I was first talking about this book. So the first perspective we get is of a muse, and we have this poet that's going to her demanding that he has the inspiration to write this poem. And she talks from her perspective about, one, what right does he have to demand anything of me? And two, I'm going to give him a poem, but I'm not going to give him the poem that he wants. I'm going to give him the poem that should be done. And that's her telling this story all about the Trojan women and what they've gone through. Then the second repeating perspective is a perspective that is just called Trojan women, and we're seeing that after the fall of Troy, when they're all out on the beach and they're being divided up by the Greeks into who they're going to be going away with. The main perspective within that seems to be Paris's mother, whose name I really can't pronounce, so I'll put it up here. She is then thinking about everything on the run up to this, how some women have got away, the different stories that she's heard about other women and how it's affected. And so she's thinking about that, which is then the other perspectives in this book. So you will get, say, 2 or 3 perspectives of different women who you will only have one chapter of, and it's their story. And then you'll have the chapter of the muse, and then you'll have the chapter of Paris's mother, and then it will go to 2 or 3 more women where they only get one chapter, and then it's back to the muse and back to the... It's stories within stories, basically. I love the setup of this book. I love those repeating perspectives. I'm not in love with every individual woman's perspective because they are basically short stories. They are encapsulating those parts of that woman's story where she may have only been a footnote, and giving her more room to talk about stuff. And I like it for that, but at the same time, it's still so small, as you can't really explore a full person. So I'm intrigued. I think the way this is done gives a really nice starting point of these are the different women, and I like that you can then find other authors who have decided to then take that person's perspective and do a whole story about it. Not based on this book, but just the fact that there's been so many Greek myths retellings around women within Troy. But I do wish that we kind of just picked maybe 2 or 3 and then could go back to those women and just fully see their story. But this is a really nice intro, so I'm in between, because there are parts of this that I really genuinely like, but not enough for me to be fully engrossed in it. So we'll see how it goes. But the page where I really, really enjoyed is actually from the muse's perspective, and she is actually talking about why she's talking about these women. And she's talking about how the poet is frustrated because men's deaths within war are epic, whereas women's are just tragic. And she's talking about how war, isn't just this sport, that it is affecting women for years afterwards, and they deserve a story. And it actually says in here, "It does hurt," I whispered. "It should hurt. She isn't a footnote, she's a person." And so I love it because that's what this book is doing. She's given all those women that were just a sentence, were just a footnote, an actual voice. But I'm also frustrated because I wish it was so much longer. I wish each person got so much longer than just a couple pages. Saying that, we're at the end. So I will catch up with you very soon. I've got a very busy day planned. Actually, I've got a very busy weekend planned, but I am hoping to finish up these 2 books. That's what I would really love to do, but we'll see what I can get done. But that's it for now. So let me go have that shower. I will catch up with you soon. And yeah, okay, I was gonna say loads more stuff, but I'm not actually wrapping up this vlog. It's just this section. We'll go. I need food and a shower. Let's go. Okay, I lied. We're not going just yet because I've had a package literally just arrive. My Locked Library book subscription, which is a book only, and it does fantasy, sci-fi, horror, and some YA, and I'm just so excited. I paid for this one myself and I love it. I've really enjoyed the last 2 books. They've been absolutely beautiful. One I've actually managed to read. The other one I haven't read yet, but is absolutely stunning. I normally do these unboxings on TikTok, but I don't know, I've just not been feeling it at the minute. I much prefer YouTube. We're just gonna go do that. Anyway, it's always so beautiful. It is half the reason why I got this book box, because it's a beautiful bright pink box. Potentially. Maybe. They always package it really well so that it's not going to get damaged. Oh, this time it's a big book. Oh my gosh, that's actually quite chunky. Oh, I'm going to have to clear up all that. It always comes wrapped in tissue paper, which I actually love because I reuse the tissue paper, which you didn't need to know that, but... Ooh, it's Mark Lawrence's book. Oh, I'm surprised at that. I didn't expect it to be such a big author. No! Oh my god. Oh my god, look! Look! That is... Oh, okay, so we've got green and orange. Oh my god, that is freaking stunning. This is The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. Mark Lawrence is quite a massive fantasy author. He's written a lot of different things. I've actually read his, don't know why I wasn't focusing, Red Sister series, like the trilogy, and I really liked it. It was good. I've unhauled the books because I don't think I'd ever reread them, but I did enjoy the trilogy. And I was contemplating trying this book because it's about books. Okay, so absolutely freaking stunning. And it says, all books, no matter their binding, will fall to dust. The stories they carry may last longer. They may outlive the paper, the library, even the language in which they were first written. The greatest story can reach the stars. I don't even know what this book is about, but I'm intrigued. Oh my god, this is freaking stunning. Okay, but they do promise that underneath the dust... Oh, look at these end pages. Underneath the dust jacket, there is always a design on the hardback. So let's see. Let's see what that is. Oh, okay. So it says, the greatest stories can reach the stars. Very nice. And are we seeing this? Are we seeing how beautiful this is? Holy moly. I think this might just be the most beautiful book I own. It is stunning. Wow, that is gorgeous. Okay, well, that's fantastic. What is this about? So, Ever has lived his whole life trapped within a vast library, older than empires and larger than cities. I want his life. Livara has spent hers in a tiny settlement out on the dust where no one goes and nightmares stalk. The world has never noticed them. That's about to change. Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is freaking amazing. This was worth unboxing on camera. Holy molies. I didn't know that this was going to be the book. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. I'm so happy. That was worth it. Now I'm going to go have my shower. Okay. So I was looking at this book more in detail. Plus I always forget to tell you that there is a ribbon bookmark in every single one of the Locked Library books, which is awesome. I was doing some research into what the original cover is because they always change the colour scheme of it slightly. And I was just interested. And it's not even out yet. It's out in May. It's out in the 11th of May, or 5th of May, I think Waterstones is saying, but oh my god! So not only is it exclusive, but it's early. It's actually early. It's actually like 3 weeks early. I'm dying to read. I really want to read this. Do I just ignore my whole TBR and read this? Because I read the opening line and oh, wow. It's so good. I am so hyped. I don't know, maybe, you know what, maybe I'll read this next week because I'm off work next week, so maybe I'll do that. But wow, this isn't even out yet. We got a whole early exclusive, but oh my god, honestly, because I've been doing this book box for 3 months now, and out of the 3, this, oh my god, I have so many high. I think it's going to be 5 stars. I think it's going to be 5 stars. Maybe I should do a whole vlog actually of reading this as a 5-star prediction and just seeing whether it is. Like, I'm so excited. Oh my god, okay, right, no, I need to have that shower. I need to go. I need to have it. I'm sorry, but can you tell I'm excited and happy with this? Because wow. Wow. I'm not gonna lie, this update, we're at the end of the weekly reading vlog and I've restarted this so many times, and I feel like that encapsulates this week for me because it's just hasn't felt quite right. Like, I haven't done my usual cooking parts. That's mainly because I haven't actually done much cooking. I've been out a lot and just haven't really done that. Just in general, I find that my reading mood for this week has been all over the place and I haven't fully settled. So we're going to attempt for the last time, and whatever this turns out as, this is what you're going to watch. But first of all, before I get into the reading updates, I have to thank Eric so much for letting me borrow these books to read. These are the last two books in the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, and this is a series I started reading with the First Law and absolutely loved it. And I'm so grateful that he's let me borrow these copies. It's so good. So the next one to read is Before They Are Hanged, and then the last one is The Last Argument of Kings. Very excited to read both of these. This is a very grimdark fantasy. Very excited to carry on with this. I'm actually really feeling this, and I may even pick this up next week. As much as it's not on my TBR, you're going to find out in a minute that I've really been struggling with that TBR. And just in general, I feel like this month needs to be a bit of more of a mood read and a bit more flexible because I'm just struggling. But I am feeling this one, so I think I might do this one next week. So thank you so much, Eric, for letting me borrow these. I'm so grateful. And yeah, cannot wait to actually start this one. I'm really, really intrigued. So I may do that. So you might be seeing that sooner. Well, let's get into the reading that I have done. So I have finished Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reid, and I did enjoy this, but I did have to force myself to sit down and read it because the last update that I did, I hadn't read any more of it until yesterday, and that's when I forced myself to just sit down and read it. I did break it up a little bit with doing other things, but yeah, that's what needed to be done, like 100%. I started off the day going to Costco, came home and forced myself to read this book. Like, it needed doing. But I did enjoy it. And I feel like this is where I get frustrated because it's like, that's been my mood this week. Like, I feel like I'm having to kind of force myself to read books on my TBR. But I do want to read, and I am enjoying them. It's just not what I want to read at the time. It's a weird one, I know. But this makes it the second book that I have finished off my April TBR, which for this point in the month is very slow for me. And I was feeling the pressure this week to actually read books off my TBR because I'd only read one. Shouldn't have done that. Should have just allowed myself to chill and just been like, you know what, April TBR out the window this month is what it is. But let me talk about what this book actually is, because I mean, you know what it is, but I never spoke about the annotating that I was doing. So let's talk about that. The usual, as we know, is quotes that I loved. This time it is this pink colour, which I was very happy with. There was so many good quotes in this book. I really enjoyed that. Then we have dark purple for things linking to the Juniper Tree, the original tale, and then other fairy tales that were mentioned, because throughout this book, Mary Lynchen is so obsessed with fairy tales, with stories, and she frequently talks about them and says them to another character in this book. And I think it was lovely, and a lot of them connect to other fairy tales within the Grimm's fairy tale, which I'm definitely going to be reading because I'm very intrigued to see what was slightly changed or not about them. So yeah, and also some slight mythology references. Whether that was intentional or not, I don't know, but that's what I picked up on. And so all of those things are marked with this purple. Then we have this light pinky purpley colour, and that is for all the gaslighting, the emotional, the manipulation that Mary Lynch's going through, and not just her. There is another character in this book that also goes through the same sort of manipulation through this mentor person, which I found really interesting to see their two situations mirrored in different ways. Thought that was really good, like as in well done, and I really wanted to focus on that and see all this manipulation that was being done. How Mary Lynch frequently said that she felt so sorry for her father because, you know, he's got this curse and the least she can do is help him, and you just see how well he's manipulated her like that through his words. And it was just hard to read because it's a dark topic, but explored very well in this book. So that was something that I definitely wanted to track. And then we have this like bluish colour, and that is for the monster, things surrounding the monster. So you know from the synopsis that there is this monster going around attacking the town, causing terror for this town. The things that link up to that I found personally very predictable, but that doesn't bother me because I've read a lot of fairy tales, I've read a lot of fantasy books. As much as this is a horror book, I would say it's fantasy horror. I've read enough books to know where this is going to go, but that did not disappoint me because the little intricacies of it I didn't fully know. I had an inkling but didn't know. I just knew who was behind it, but that was good. So I tracked all of that. The things relating to that as well. But this overall was a really good read, and as much as I had to force myself to read it, is not because I wasn't enjoying it, it was just I wasn't in the mood to pick this one up. But I know that this is a book that I love because it's got the dark atmosphere, it's got the fairy tale references, you've got the rage that comes through in this book, the ending was amazing, it's got all the things that I love. It just wasn't what my mood wanted to read at the time, but I would recommend just double check your trigger warnings because it is a dark book, and it's dark because the juniper tree is a dark fairy tale. Like, that's not the juniper tree. This is such a dark fairy tale, and Ava Reid makes it darker, and I like that. I thought it was very good. But a recap of what we actually read this week. So I finished Juniper and Thorn, and I also read the Juniper Tree, and I'm so pleased that I paired these two together. I thought it was a fantastic way of doing this, and like I said, there are a couple more fairy tales that are referenced that I want to read, so definitely going to have to do that. But this was fantastic. This was definitely the way to read a fairy tale retelling, is by pairing it with the original tale. Perfect. Highly recommend doing this sort of thing. But yeah, so that was those. I haven't read any more of 1,000 Ships since the last time I updated, so I'm still on chapter 16 at page 132. I might take this one to work with me tonight, but you're going to see that in next week's vlog. I'm on a 12-hour night shift, the only one of the week, which is great. So we'll see. I might take this one. I like it, but obviously all my thoughts are the same because I've already spoken about it, but it's like parts of it I really love. I love the way it's being told. I love all of that, but there are certain stories of the women which I'm just not connecting to as much. And then I DNF'd a book, I DNF'd Blood Mercy. It just wasn't for me. This one wasn't for me. And I finished Birthday Girl. And I read that one, which was just a light, easy read, which I needed at the time for how tired I was. So that's it this week. I feel like it's been a bit all over the place, and I feel like that is because technically I only finished 2 books, which is fine, but I've also like DNF'd a book, and then I'm finding another book like okay. I don't know, it's been a weird week for me. I feel like a bit all over the place. That's okay, we get weeks like that sometimes. But I'm gonna leave it here. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or if you're going to read any of these, or what you have read, you know, the usual stuff. And I think for this, let's put a snake in the emoji. For the emoji of the day, let's put a snake in the comments below. That's what I was trying to say. Definitely a snake for this book. So thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it that thumbs up, subscribe and comment. Those 3 things are so helpful to helping this channel grow. Social media links and anyone I've mentioned will be linked below, and I will of course catch you in the very next video.